Hi, I'm Jordan Goldstein, Global Director of Design at Gensler, and I'm coming to you from my house outside of Washington, D.C. I hope that wherever you're watching this, that you're staying safe. These are incredibly challenging times, but we will get through this together. And my hope is that through the amazing goodwill and the virtual connectivity that we're seeing every day all around the world, that we're going to come out more committed than ever to create a safer, healthier world for all of us. So I'm here today to talk about why architecture and design matter in a post-COVID world. So 3 things come to mind. The first is that design influences us every day, everywhere. The second is that our future of our cities and our communities are going to need design more than ever to become the places and spaces that we want to re-engage in and re-emerge in. The third is that design thinking has historically solved some of the most complex problems that society has produced. And this is a complex problem. All of this kind of rolls together in my mind in what I would call an architecture of optimism. Well, what does that mean? We'll get into it a bit, but first, thinking about design influencing us every day. When you look around, whether it's a chair, a wine bottle, or the world's tallest building, all of these are influenced by design. They're driven by design. In fact, they come into being through design strategies and design ideas. Nowhere is that more important than now when we think about a post-COVID-19 world, when our public spaces are going to need design solutions more than ever to help us feel safe and to trust the environments that we re-emerge in. The best design creates accessible and safe environments. That was true prior to the pandemic, and it's going to be even more true after the pandemic. So I was thinking about this, and pre-pandemic, there was a project I was involved in. It's called The Yards. It's a neighborhood that is built along the Anacostia River in Washington, D.C., in the southeast quadrant of the city. And years ago, after World War II, it was composed of some industrial buildings that were used to make ships during the war that became derelict structures, and you had an area along the waterfront that just became forgotten. There was an opportunity to come in and reimagine these places and spaces to become the foundational components of a new neighborhood. And the architecture, which mixes old buildings, reimagined, and new buildings, is something that is incredibly inviting, incredibly welcoming. But what's most important about it is that the outdoor spaces in and around these buildings and along the waterfront is something that the public can engage in and can do it in a way that you can feel like you're not crowded in together. And I think about a post-pandemic world, that's going to become huge. The ability to be able to partake in community gatherings, but not feel that you can't trust the environment or that you're looking over your shoulder wondering what's going to happen next. This neighborhood is something that I think back on and think about the design strategies that were used in a pre-pandemic world and think about how relevant those design strategies are now, and that we can bring those forward and use those in ways to design safer and healthier environments that are outdoors or indoors, that are very much a human scale and celebrate the idea of coming together. The second thing about our future of our cities and the future of our communities needing design more than ever. People want to be together. Design solves for that. Post-COVID-19, we're going to have to solve for this in places that we may have taken for granted before. And whether that's in hospitality environments, in retail environments, in our schools, in our hospitals, in our transportation centers, and in our entertainment venues and arenas. There are not many spaces designed for only one use by only one person for a long period of time. So we have to think about how we make those spaces and places inviting and offering the opportunity for people to come together in groups in ways that recognize that people aren't going to feel safe unless certain things are woven in that allow them to embrace the spaces that they're in, and being able to think about the built environment beyond just architecture, but also as gathering spaces for great things to happen. Pre-pandemic, I was working on a project in Beijing, and we started to integrate some technology into the project with our client that I was thinking seemed a little odd. But now that I think about it, it was incredibly forward thinking. The technology is such that you can walk into that building, walk through the doors, walk through the lobby, walk through the security kiosks, and walk into the elevator without ever touching a single surface. Through facial recognition technology, through other technologies and building components woven in together, you're able to walk through and move into a space that takes you then to your floor that you may be working on without ever having to interact with a single surface. Pretty amazing when you think about it, but probably pretty necessary in a post-pandemic world. So the other one is design thinking. It's foundational to solving the world's toughest challenges. It always has been. For inspiration, I love to look back at moments in time where people came together to do something truly extraordinary. One of the ones I'm looking at a lot now, because it just had a milestone anniversary, is the Apollo moon landing, Apollo 11. And if we think about that, the whole Apollo space program was something where 400,000 people came together from around the United States focused on a singular mission. And that mission was to get human beings to the moon and back. We hear the term moonshot used a lot in the public. Well, this was the original moonshot. And the problems that were facing those that were at the design table were huge. You could say that at the time they were probably insurmountable, but it all started to click together when the problem solving focused on the actual users, the individuals, and thinking about that the actual goal was to get these human beings that were perched atop a rocket to the moon and back. When we think about design thinking, it's really empathetic design. It thinks about the users, it thinks about the problems, and it looks at tackling that problem from a bunch of different angles. When we look at this pandemic that we're in right now, the problems truly are coming from all different angles. And we need to think about the human experience in this. And as we emerge from it, design thinking is going to become significant. And I mentioned earlier an architecture of optimism. Well, what does it mean? It's architecture not for architecture's sake. It's architecture that is inspirational, causing you to appreciate the places and spaces that you're in. But it's places and spaces that connect to nature, letting the outdoors in, bringing in natural light, and bringing in people in a way that they feel engaged with the space, but they feel safe in the space. And most importantly, it's design that can support the human experience at every scale and every level of our daily lives. I wanted to send a message out today to the next generation of architects and designers. And many of them are sitting in their college dorms, not knowing how the next few months are going to play out for them. Will they graduate? How will they graduate? And what jobs await them when they come out? But I would say don't give up on the profession, because you're the young minds that this industry is going to need more than ever to help us solve these tough problems and to think about them in different ways and to think about that human experience in ways that will truly be impactful. So in closing, a thought came to mind, and it's something that we use at Gensler often, and it's the mission statement that we have that is about creating a better world through the power of design. And nowhere is that more important than now. Design has always created solutions both quickly and that can stand the test of time. This is our next chapter in history, and design will once again be the solution that supports the human experience at every scale and level of our lives. Let's define this next new normal together. Please be safe, be healthy, be well, wherever you are. Thank you.